Okay, thank you very much for joining this post-market. Kicking off with ATER, it is down percent and closed at 23.76%. But before we go into that, let's look at the broader market and see what happened there. Okay, let's see the S&P XPX. Okay, XPS, sorry about that. XPS, that's the S&P 500 index, it lost 0.34%. And yes, Wall Street ended lower on Tuesday, reversing earlier gains as Treasury yields rebounded and once again pulled growth stocks back into red territory. All three major US indexes solid early session gains that were driven by inline economic data and benchmark Treasury yields retreating from their highest point in nearly 3 years. The fade in stock prices wasn't catalyzed by any specific news, feeding into the general angst about negative and the bumpy road ahead for the market, with the Fed poised to hike rates next month and the start of a Q1 earnings reporting season tomorrow, the 13th of April 2022. Okay, Treasury yields paired their declines in the wake of a poor $34 billion 10-year auction, which weighed on interest rate sensitive stocks and reversed the rally. The labor market CPI report showed the prices urban American consumers pay for the basket of goods posted the biggest monthly jump since September 2005 and an annual surge of 8.5%, the hottest year-on-year inflation number in more than 4 decades. So while the data suggested to some analysts that the current inflationary wave could be cresting, others are not so sure. The bottom line is inflation is going to stick around for a while, said Peter Cadillo, chief market economist at Spartan Capital Securities, and he added that we could see it begin to reverse in the summer months, provided we get some cooling off in agricultural and energy prices. So much of the top line CPI growth was attributable to an 18.3% monthly surge in gasoline prices to a record high of $4.33 per gallon. So the reports did later to budge the needle of expectations regarding impending interest rate hikes from the Federal Reserve. It is nearly written in stone that we'll see a 50 basis point rate hike in May and another in June, according to Cadillo. The Fed is behind the curve. The chart, or rather the CPI, which strips out volatile food and energy prices, along with other major indicators, all of which continue to soar well above the Fed's average annual 2% inflation target. So as we all know very well, the major indexes were down. The Dow Jones lost 0.26%, S&P 500 lost 0.34%, the Nasdaq lost 0. Energy shares jumped the largest percent gain amongst the 11 sectors in the S&P 500, jumping 2.3% on the back of surging crude prices. First quarter earnings season burst through the starting gates later this week, I think from tomorrow. Okay, with big banks leading the way. Analysts have called their first quarter optimism. Annual S&P 500 earnings growth was recently estimated to be 6.1%, down from 7.5% at the beginning of the year. So, returning back to the to ATER. I think this is hanging. Sorry about that. Yeah, ATER. Sorry, got it there. ATER, it's, as I indicated earlier on, it is now up 4.8% in this post-market session. I don't. Was there any news concerning ATER? Okay, there was no news. What do we have in terms of volume? Okay, 46.1 million shares across the tape, and I think they're still crossing. And there were some modest gains on the options pit. 139% for the 350 calls. The 14th of April 350 calls, gain of 139.68%. So let's return and yes, I think there's also another thing we pointed out. We tried to crunch a few numbers for ATER. The gain is now 5% in this post market, and I think we were able to see that we tried to determine the probability of the stock closing below its 10-day moving average on this daily chart for the next session, which is the session of the 13th of April, and there's every indication that it is trading at a, I mean, obviously trading at a, it is trading at a premium to that moving average. That 10-day moving average is trading at 3.49, and the stock itself is trading at 5.25. So what is the probability that it will close below that moving average? It's there's a good chance that may not happen in the next session. Probability wise, it looks like it's not something that can happen, but at the same time, anything can happen as well. You know, the stock is gradually becoming popular. Its short interest and its utilization and all that stuff is causing market participants to really pay attention to it. You know, so moving on, let's return and see what we can make, which is LIXT. Some percent. Actually, it's at some point it ran up a huge gain in the just before, a few minutes before the market opened, ran up a huge gain, and we covered it. We had some targets up, some targets that where they made up. I think they ran up some targets. I think they were not met or something like that. But there was some news out there concerning the stock. Okay, the company has signed agreement to sell shares in direct registered offerings. Okay, but before that, there was some other more fundamental news. It says biotech okay, yes. Let's see here. Okay, LIXT Biotechnology Holdings Inc. said preclinical results from its collaboration with the Netherlands Cancer Institute showed its LB100 drug compound showed anti-cancer activity. The compound, when mixed with other drugs, further activates oncogenic signaling in a number of KRAS mutant cancers and makes them open to anti-cancer therapy. So that was the news that drove, amongst other things, the stock. So moving on here, I think it's because of this news that they were going to sell shares. I think that was why the stock began to drop off. So the volume for that session was 182.797 million shares, and it's not optionable. I can see now why all of this, everything fell apart. It must be because they wanted to sell more shares, and there's a good chance it may begin to extend again. Who knows? EVTL is the next one. Vertical Aerospace Limited up, closed at $9.82, a gain of 30.93%, but it's down 7.33% in this post market. Do we have any news concerning EVTL? Let's see. Vertical Aerospace shares hit highest level since January on heavy volume. Let's see. It was halted once, I think. Unusual option activity as well. Vertical Aerospace shares were up 24% on Tuesday. That's today, Tuesday afternoon, after touching the highest level earlier during the day since January. Shares rose to $11.95 around 1 p.m. Eastern US time before pairing some gains. Volume total 5.8 million versus an average volume of 285,000. Well, we're going to get the volume that actually crossed the tape right now. Let's get that volume. The volume is 18.455 million shares. Okay, you can see the options also saw huge volumes there, and also huge increases in prices. You can see the 750 calls rose by hello Paul. Yes, 750 call rose by 750. April 14th calls gained 1,025%. The $10 calls gained 1,100%. Yes, it was quite a huge one, and I think maybe there wasn't a lot of activity on the stock, on the options before now. That is probably why we saw some of these huge gains, amongst other things, So okay, moving on to IDAI. IDAI, T-Stamp Inc. It gained 30.99%, but it has lost 8.96%. Yeah, Paul, how are you doing? Okay, and we have that it announced its earnings outcomes. It says Trust Stamp, the privacy first identity company providing AI-powered trust and identity services used globally across multiple sectors, update and commentary on reported financial results for the 3 and 12 month periods ended 31st of December 2021. Net sales 3.7 million in full year 2021, a 30.9% increase year on year. Net sales were $2.1 million in Q4 2021, a 69.7% increase year on year. It was a $1,224 Gross profit margin for full year 2021 was 68.7 compared to 42.59% for full year 2020 rather. Improved Q4 2021 to minus 98.83% compared to minus 241.74% for full year 2020. So amongst other things, that's what drove IDAI